Hello, our dear friends, software asset management experts, procurement heroes, and everyone who is, for some reason, why, is interested in Microsoft licensing. And my name is Alexander Golov. I represent a company called SAMexpert, and this is our channel where we discuss all things about Microsoft licensing, cloud, mostly cloud economics, sometimes audits. This is what we do on a daily basis, our company, and therefore, what we tell you here is a product of over 25 years of experience of each participant of this channel, including me. So, without further ado, let's jump into Microsoft licensing updates for September 2024. There aren't many, but some of them are interesting. So it's not as dull as in the previous months, still nothing revolutionary. But let me start with this slide, which lists all the updates, all what happened on the 1st of September, a few days ago, in the Microsoft licensing. Microsoft added a few products to so-called availability tables. What it means, there are tables that tell you through which channel you can buy a certain product. To most of the clients, it means not a lot. It's more important for resellers. It's more important for consultants. But let's look at the list of the products. And I specifically highlighted one of them. There's a 10-year audit log retention product, which you may infer it's for a 10-year log retention, so you can keep logs for 10 years. If you have any regulatory or security reasons to keep logs for so long, there's an additional subscription now. There are other things like Defender Vulnerability Management, Internet Access, and Private Access, not new products, just availability has changed. Python and Excel, I'll stop on it additionally in a few seconds. Secure Access Essentials, Frontline Worker, that's the last in the product list, which changed availability on the 1st of September 2024. Python and Excel, however, is an interesting tendency. Python in Excel is something that so far has been only available as a preview, as something you could run and test and play with it, have fun in preview channels in Microsoft Office 365. However, now it's available as a separate subscription. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find the price for this particular live, but we expect it to be something reasonable, below $10, hopefully. Because Python in Excel, despite its name, doesn't actually run in Excel. It runs in the cloud. And this is the global tendency in where Microsoft Office is moving. All the apps that we will have soon, and it's already started with Teams and Outlook, are effectively shells for online applications. So all the business logic actually runs in the cloud. The other reason why Microsoft decided to run Python in the cloud, not your local Python copy, is they say it's to sandbox access, because Python can access a lot of things if it runs locally. So therefore, they want to limit that access, especially for enterprise data, and they want to control it. They want you to control it. They want to control it. They want to limit it to just your data, your tenant, whichever is available to Python that runs in the cloud. From which you also can infer that it's not just an additional subscription, additional cost. It also requires an M365 license. So traditional Office won't get it. That's our understanding right now, but it seems like that's the case. So it requires online applications because it runs in the cloud. It requires a cloud subscription. On one hand, we don't like this tendency because Microsoft already has over 40 various add-ons to Microsoft 365. And this is the first specific for Excel. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the first specific for Excel, which if you want to use Python, and look up the demos. There are lots of demos on YouTube since the first preview. It actually looks quite exciting. But this whole tendency to move also everything to the cloud is a bit concerning because, for example, in our work, we use Power Query almost on a daily basis, multiple times during the day. And we work with local files that clients send to us with audit results or anything like it. And although it can work with online data, for example, stored in SharePoint, the same query online takes 10 to 20 times the amount of time it takes to run locally. And if Excel becomes, in time, a purely cloud application, there is a possibility that access to local files would be slightly limited. I would put it this way. And Power Query then may become a paid add-on. That's where Microsoft is going. The other thing that they added in September is they clarified that if you have extended security updates licenses, Microsoft provides virtually no support for these licenses because it's limited to just 3 types of issues that are listed on this slide: deployment, installation, activations of ESU keys, license and updates, bugs, regressions introduced with the installation of a security update. Pay attention of the security update. Troubleshooting services and assistance to resolve known and documented issues related to the underlying operating systems. And support is only available if you have pay-per-incident, unified support, or if you're a partner and you have Premier support for partners. And they especially clarify that the products themselves, the products under the extended security upgrades, are not supported. It was already clear how it worked. Now we have it officially clarified. It's not actually a change. It's a clarification. It's how it works. But what do you do if you want support for a product that is under extended security updates? Go to a third-party support provider. Fortunately, Microsoft provides official ways for a third party, for a Microsoft partner, to create their own third-party support business with completely different pricing, strategies, because it's up to the partner. All they need to do is they need to pay for a support package to Microsoft. For example, Premier support or advanced support for partners. And through such partners, you can get indirect support, in many cases, better than from Microsoft itself. I won't deliberately start calling specific names of specific third-party support providers, but if you want me to give you some, please message me through LinkedIn. You'll find the links in the description to this video, and we can discuss that. We're not affiliated with any. We're not getting any kickbacks from any, but we can discuss the overall approach and how you can find such partners. The other clarification that they introduced is they just clarified that you can reduce subscription licenses if you have an enterprise agreement or enrollment for education. You always had this opportunity. You always had this possibility to reduce the number of subscription licenses during the term of an enterprise agreement. It's just a clarification. Again, it's not a change, but it's an important clarification. An exciting bit for just CSP clients is that there's a currently promo on Copilot for Microsoft 365. It's a 15% discount that is not given to you as a net client. It's given to your CSP partner through whom you can buy licenses. You can buy licenses directly from Microsoft, or you can buy licenses through an LSP if you're a large company, or if you're not a large company, or you can be a large company, but you can augment your subscriptions via CSP. So CSP partners get a 15% discount on all the new subscriptions. So if you already subscribed to Copilot, you're not subject to this promo. If you are not yet subscribed to Copilot for M365 and you want to procure it now via a CSP partner, you now know that partner gets a 15% discount, which you can use talking to them. They won't necessarily tell you that there is a 15% discount, which is available until 31st of December this year, 2024. And then the promo probably will stop. What's interesting is that also Microsoft didn't give this discount to enterprise agreement clients. However, nothing stops an enterprise agreement client from subscribing to Copilot via CSP from the licensing standpoint. But it probably will be quite difficult. I'd like to see it implemented to add Copilot through CSP to a tenant in Microsoft 365 that is created via an enterprise agreement. Again, not sure that's technically possible, but review that possibility if you have an opportunity, because if that's possible, it means that you can add a CSP agreement to your EA. You don't get discounts on Copilot anyway. You don't get them. You can add it to your EA, and therefore you can get Copilot with a 15% discount, which actually raises questions whether the uptake on Copilot is any good right now. Why would Microsoft provide this promo when previously Microsoft refused to give any discounts? Negotiating discounts on Copilot was extremely difficult. It still is. And there are no volume discounts for large companies. It's always $30 per user per month. This is the first time Microsoft gives a discount. Why? Maybe there's some kind of disillusionment. But anyway, let's move on. And if you have any questions, if you're watching it right now and you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. And I want to start with the questions that we received during the last month on our hotline at ask@SAMexpert.com. We actually have you can send a question to it, and if it's a reasonably worded question, you can get a free support from us. Why? We just fancy it. So one of the questions we received recently is how to measure, how to audit SQL Server device counts and user counts. So if you know SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server is a database application, database service, which may be accessed through, and usually is accessed through, other applications. Almost nobody, except for geeks, uses SQL Server directly. And one of the licensing models for SQL Server is server plus client access licenses. So you pay for instances and you pay for either devices per device or users per user, or a mix of those, who access that data, write or read it directly or indirectly through other applications, for example, accounting applications. And this is a very difficult question. This is a very challenging question. The answer is there is no universal recipe on how to count such licenses. It depends on the application. And in most of the cases, there is no way to count devices, because normally those apps have user accounts assigned to them. And the way to do it is to find out about all the applications that use SQL indirectly and count the users inside those applications. So therefore, there's no universal script. There are thousands of such applications. There's no universal approach. It's always case by case. So it's very difficult. Moving on. The next question. What licenses as a provider, this is a provider question, do we need to host Windows 11 for our clients? There is no Windows 11 in our SPLA price list. So this can be also interesting for those end clients, if you are an end client, if you want to host your Windows 11 machines on the service provider. Windows 11 doesn't require licenses for the actual virtual machines hosted on the provider. Therefore, well, firstly, it's not on an SPLA price list, so you can't sell those licenses to the end client if you're a provider. And if you're an end client, you can't rent Windows 11 virtual machines from a provider with licenses. So you have to have licenses. An end client has to have licenses per user to be able to host so-called VDIs, virtual desktop instances, on the service provider. It's always an end client's license. And the rules are simple. If it's a subscription license or a license with software assurance, it gives you access to up to 4 virtual machines per user. In practice, it's not traceable, but the legal requirement is up to 4 virtual machines, wherever those machines are running. So, if you're a provider and you want to host Windows 11 for your end clients, you must make sure that the end clients have the licenses, eligible licenses with remote virtualization, server virtualization rights. If you're an end client, that applies to you. You need to make sure that if you want to deploy VDIs on a service provider, you have the appropriate user licenses, eligible user licenses. Another question. We are a small provider with mostly Linux virtual machines. Can we use SPLA for Windows Server virtual machines? Of course you can. That's what SPLA is designed for. Couple of notes here. First of all, we would strongly recommend separating Linux machines from Windows Server virtual machines. I would even turn it upside down. I would say separating Windows Server virtual machines in their own dedicated clusters, their own dedicated infrastructure. Why? For economic reasons. Because through SPLA, if you use SPLA, through SPLA, the most cost-effective way, if you have over 7 virtual machines per cluster, is to license it with Windows Server Data Center. And the more densely you pack Windows servers on the specific cluster, the less is the cost for you as a provider for each virtual machine. Therefore, we suggest separating it. There's another option. You don't have to use SPLA. If you are mostly Linux-based provider, you don't want to deal with SPLA. You don't have it yet. You don't want to sign it. You can still sign it. Then you can actually allow your end clients to bring their own licenses for Windows Server using so-called flexible virtualization benefit. If they don't have the licenses, and you, for example, a Microsoft CSP, you're a Microsoft partner, you can be an indirect partner, even being a small business. You can actually resell them those licenses, sell them a license, and then host it for them. So you don't have to deal with SPLA. But the question was, can we use SPLA? Of course you can. Of course you can. It's a simple question. And the last question that I have from our hotline this month, we have more, but these are the ones that we are happy to discuss. This is a tricky one. They're all tricky, but this one is not as simple as it seems. A client asked us, we have a 32-core physical server. Can we disable 16 cores and only pay for 16 when the server core licenses. Because effectively, only 16 cores will be available to the operating system at the hardware level, because the cores are disabled in BIOS. So our expert opinion is, as long as you can provide evidence that it's always been the case, you take screenshots, you take snapshots every month, for example, and you can prove to an auditor that you've always only been using 16 cores, then yes, you can do that. The questions may arise when you give them the hardware inventory. They look up that model online and find out that that machine, for example, that machine's minimal configuration has always been 32 cores or more as a minimal configuration. Then there's always a question of whether you had to pay for 32 cores anyway. Again, our expert opinion is that as long as you can prove that you've never used more than 16 cores, then it's perfectly eligible. If you don't keep the evidence, then you may run into trouble. The best case view at this scenario is that if you have multiple servers, hundreds of servers, nobody's going to bother and look into each and every server. If you have a small number of servers, why would they even audit you? Because it's not economically viable. That's a long answer. It's a tricky question. It's a tricky answer. And on this note, I think we can conclude today's session. And we'll see you again in on one of the Wednesdays this month. Next live is on the 12th of September. So it's not Wednesday, it's Thursday. Usually these live sessions are on Wednesdays. Today is also an exception because I only yesterday morning arrived from the United States back to the UK on an overnight flight, and I just didn't find the energy in myself to go live yesterday. So we had to postpone it until today. The reason why we postponed it next week is obviously we don't want to do any broadcasts on 9/11. It's a very sad day for humanity. So it's going to be on the 12th. Otherwise, you can find all the upcoming lives on the homepage of our YouTube channel. I hope you'll subscribe to our channel, and I hope I'll see you on those live Q&A sessions. Thank you very much for being here, and goodbye.